So, hello, welcome back. Today, the second part through the journey of Danny's incredible hi-fi equipment. And I think, not the more interesting part, you can't say it that way, but a very, very, very interesting part. We are going today through his incredible speakers and amplifiers and see them first. He shows it to us, explains a bit, and then we talk about them. So, Danny, your screen.
Love it. Good morning. What's happening, Michael? How are you guys all doing? So, obviously, ever since we did our video, everybody in the comment section has been asking, we want the speakers, we want the speakers, we want the speakers. So here they are. So these are the Wilson Audio XVX Chronosonic speakers. They are made in Utah. They come with a dog. Just kidding. They're made in Utah. Really, it's handmade architecture, so to speak. I mean, to me anyway, right? You've got, this is the carbon fiber box for the crossover. Then you have all the different modules that connect up here. You can change out resistors so you can fine tune the sound of each of the modules. Here's all the speaker cables connected for the individual modules. There you see the modules. Now here's something very intricate. This is what they call the micro adjustment micrometer. I don't know if you can see it. I guess I should have turned on the cool fall lights. Hang on, because they come with these cool lights. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can. And so what these adjustments do is they allow you to fine tune. And oh, by the way, there's a tweeter up on top that you may not be able to see. Well, maybe you can. It's right up there. So these are the micro adjustments that you can do for each of the modules. So they move fore and aft. And the entire upper module is called the gantry, which is where all these drivers sit. And as you can see, solid blocks of aluminum, all machined. This is Wilson's X material and all the various composites that they have created over the last almost 50 years of building loudspeakers. And here's the front part. You can see the individual modules, and obviously the woofer section. There's a port at the bottom that you can actually fine tune. So you can either decide to have the port fire forward or backwards. For me, in my case, in my application, the port fires backwards. Single terminal connection. And yeah, this is the Wilson Audio XVX speaker. And then, of course, we go over to Folker's favorite part, which are the Macintosh MC611 amplifiers. And on top of them, the crown jewels, as Folker would always call them, the silver bullets. And these are, of course, the Einstein OTL amplifiers that are absolutely exquisite. Certainly the finest amplifier I have ever heard in all my 20 years of, professionally, quote unquote, reviewing all this stuff. And here is the left channel speaker, of course. And there you have it. Pretty cool.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, we take a little break and then we talk.
I forgot to mention one little bit. So, of course, everybody's going to ask, how much is it? How much is it? I get it. It's, it's the, mine is bigger than yours. Not really. So they retail for $360,000 US. And again, they're made in Utah. And here's the other kicker. They weigh 685 pounds each, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's 683 or 685 pounds. So they are extremely heavy. And, obviously it's you need more than one person to set these up. and it's fun. It's actually, there's an article that I'm writing that will be posted for my second part of my review that talks about the setup process, the installation, the tweaking, the tuning. It's really, to set these speakers up, it's really a sort of day and a half, almost 2-day adventure. So anyway, let's talk more on the flip side.
So thanks, Danny. That was impressive. That was impressive for sure. Thank you for sharing this equipment, at least the views of this equipment. Now we go deeper into it with us. And yeah, I'm impressed. Although I've seen I've never heard or seen this one, but I've seen this huge speakers and incredible complex speakers on, for example, the Munich high end. And sometimes I can't talk about them, but sometimes the complexity comes with a price. How is it with these speakers?
That is a great question, Michael. And obviously it's one that I get asked a lot. Just keep in mind, for reference again, for viewers that may not have seen our previous conversations, or don't know who I am or who you are for that matter, and your channel, and haven't seen it. I've been in this hobby, professionally, whatever you want to call it, for 20 years. So I've been writing as a reviewer, published online, and in a couple of magazines that are now unfortunately defunct. And so I've been around the block, right? I've heard a lot of things, I've seen a lot of things, and it's the old saying where the more you become familiar with something, obviously, the more you understand, the more you learn. I mean, it's a learning process at the end of the day, right?
Of course,
It's
exactly. Yeah.
Who is this for, right? I mean, I think that's also an important question, right? I mean, I one of the things that I pride myself in anyway, I think I do, is I try to bring new people into this lovely hobby, because it's a forgotten art form, right? It's we live in an age where there is an overabundance, almost an exuberance of media surrounding you nonstop from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. Media consumption is everywhere. But consumption, to me, it's like going to McDonald's. You consume a burger, right? This is not consumption. This is enjoyment. This is taking, really appreciating at the fundamental, almost molecular level, an artist's interpretation, an artist's vision for an instrument, for a song, a symphonic orchestra, a solo guitar, a female vocalist, a male vocalist, right? And so, I guess your question, in America we have the saying, that's a loaded question, right? In Germany, or in the German-speaking part of Europe, das ist eine geballte Frage. Ich weiß jetzt nicht, ob das stimmt, aber so ungefähr.
Ungefähr, ja, passt schon.
Yeah. And here's why, because to your point, someone who listens to music occasionally, someone who listens to music on the periphery as an adjunct, as something that they do while they're doing something else, you're completely missing the boat on high-end audio, right? Not just these Wilson speakers, on high-end audio altogether, right? High-end audio is not for you, right? You're better off, spending a couple $100 on a boombox, or a HomePod, or whatever, Alexa, whatever your fancy is, and knock yourself out, right? Background music, wonderful, it's great. There's nothing to think about. There's nothing to set up. There's no complexity. right? It's, you plug it in, you play it, you've got your Bluetooth and you're set, right? So this is the juxtaposition to that is this, right? And I think fundamentally what I see when people come here that have no clue about high-end audio, they're like, first of all, you can't get around the fact that they make a statement.
Let me guess, Danny. One of the most statements is, wow, that is probably really loud. Wow.
Yes. That's absolutely right. They play really loud. Are you a DJ? When they see all the records, right? Or the turntables for that matter. Wow, these are, what are they made out of, right? What are all these things, right? Which is kind of hilarious because, again, it just goes to show how far hi-fi, right, from the when you and I were growing up, and we're similar ages, or our parents were growing up, everybody, okay, hey, this is a speaker, right? This is a driver, this is a loudspeaker, right? You make music with it. You have a Grundig console, or a Philips console, or Dual, for the European viewers, right? Or obviously in the US, you had, when you got into somewhat of the high-end stuff back then, at least it was definitely high-end. You have all these companies, and it's like, well, yeah, this is what you need to play music, right? And today people are like, what are these things, right? And there is a complete misunderstanding, I think. On one hand, there is a lack of knowledge on another level. And then fundamentally, I think that the component that's missing the most is, where do you hear this? Like, I mean, if you weren't coming to my place, look, Wilson Audio is obviously at the peak of high-end audio as far as status and marketing. And so, they have the largest dealer network, they have the most robust dealer network. And outside of those dealers, unless you know someone who has these, where are you going to listen to this, right? I mean, you can't walk into, a big box retail store, Karstadt. Hey, I'd like to play, do you have Wilson XVXs, right? I mean, you're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Floor. Second
floor. Exactly. Yeah. Third floor. So yes, there is, that's actually a great question. There is a certain level of complexity involved, in as much as that you have to fundamentally appreciate music in order to appreciate what these speakers will do. And by the way, because I'm sure everybody, oh, he's a fanboy, Wilson Audio, he loves Wilson Audio. Of course I love Wilson Audio, right? I mean, why do I have them? Because I like Wilson Audio. But leave Wilson Audio aside, your Einstein speakers, there's obviously, tons of other brands out there. And not at this scale either, right? I mean, your $10,000 hi-fi speaker, your $5,000 hi-fi speaker, right? I think you have to appreciate music at a serious level, at some level of seriousness, whatever that is to you.
Okay, Danny,
in order for you to what?
Yeah, excuse me. That wasn't exactly my point. My point was a little different. Let me explain, please. There is a certain development when it comes to high-end hi-fi within the last 2, maybe even 3 decades. And in a way, from the look, only the look, I say it once more, I've never heard them, I don't know the details. From the look, this speaker goes exactly in that direction. And what I have learned so far, I don't like that direction because the prices go higher and higher. The weight of the components gets equally higher and higher. We have this Krell Watt monsters, started with the number 33 from Mark Levinson.
Yeah.
And what I've heard so far, and now I say what I think, it sounds terrible sometimes. It really it sounds awful. There is too much complexity, and they can't handle. Of course, they all have to listen to the laws of physics, and they have good ideas. It looks great, but through the complexity, they have to handle with so many problems.
Yep.
That in many cases they can't handle them because why? Because they don't keep it simple.
Yeah.
You know, for example, the boxes, those beautiful monoliths you sit next to you, I think for the optimal experience, and if I spend, of course, nobody spends the list price, but still serious money. I need at least, I think, 5 to 6 meters listening distance. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And then what kind of amplifiers do you need? Because when it comes, for example, to the silver bullets from Einstein, the OTLs, I call it room temperature, maybe.
Yeah.
But not more. So you need this Krell stuff and those watt monsters, and that comes with a price, I think. And that was my little provocative. I don't want to be on the negative side. I love this.
No.
Don't get me wrong, but I see that danger that this comes really with a price. All this impressive, huge stuff, difficult.
Great point. English is not my first language. Just kidding.
Mine too, neither.
You know, look, you bring up several different threads, I think, right? Let me start at the back end because it's fresh in my memory, you know, with regards to the amplifiers. So yes, you're 100% correct. The Einstein OTLs, which in my opinion are the finest amplifiers I have ever heard. What the liquidity they have in the mid range, the resolution, the
speed,
gorgeous. I mean, it's just, you listen to music, whatever the genre is, electronic, classical, female vocal, jazz vocal, whatever you want to listen to, it sounds incredible. But to your point, when I connect them to the XVXs, guess what? I can't go crazy on the volume control, right? Because yes, you're correct. The speakers are complex. I mean, there's no denying it, right? I mean, there's 7 drivers in it, if you count the tweeter that's mounted at the top that's rear firing. You saw the crossover. It is a giant box, right? full of parts.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely. You know, you can't just put speakers in a box and say, oh, you know, that's it. That's all we need, right? I mean, there's development time. You know, Daryl was working on this speaker for the better part of 2.5 years of development cycle, right? Countless prototype stages and you know, production stages and stuff. And you know, yes, it's extremely complex. And you know, I think, interestingly enough, I think you also touch on the fact that, in my opinion, high-end audio has done a very poor job over the last 30 years, since you mentioned 2-3 decades. I want to say probably 4 decades, right? Well, maybe 3 decades of marketing itself, of telling people what is high-end audio, right? I mean, what is high-end audio, right? And with that, of course, you know, I mean, look, we're living, as some would say, in the most gilded age ever, right? I mean, you've got, you know, Rolls Royces costing $500,000. You know, the billionaires of the world are, you know, clawing each other. Who's got the biggest yacht, right? You know, is it 200 feet? Is it 400 feet?
Exactly.
You know, is it an aircraft carrier? You know, I mean, it's insanity, right? You know, how many helicopters does your yacht take? You know, it's like helicopters. What are you talking about? You know, you know, look, that to me, there's always been that uber crazy stuff. You know, look at the pyramids, right?
And Danny, please remind your own words when you started, and I agreed 100%. You need to appreciate the music.
Yes.
Remember that when you are going in that area.
Yes, 100%. And look, again, you know, so you know, as I'm sure people either know or they'll find out, or whatever. So these retail in the US for 360,000. And you know, again, that is an insane amount of money, right? For a pair of loudspeakers. I mean, let's, you know, it's the bull in the china shop. It's the elephant in the room, right? $360,000 loudspeakers. Are you insane, right? You know, yes, I can buy 6 cars for that. I can buy, you know, 3 homes for that. I can, you know, yeah, I mean, you can buy, you know, probably bananas for the next 3 years for that kind of money, right? I mean, everything is scaled, right?
Yeah, let's skip that money part.
Yeah, exactly. It's irrelevant. I mean, it's almost like, I don't want to say it's irrelevant. I want to say it's a silly point of looking at it through that lens, right? You know, I'll just say this. Look, they're made in Utah. The machining, you know, they have, I think it's 6 or 7, maybe even more by now, CNC 5-axis CNC machines that each cost, you know, upwards of millions of dollars, right? Yeah. So, you know, the drill bit that machines the X material has to be replaced because the material is so dense. It has to be replaced every, I don't know, couple hundred or a couple thousand runs, right? Of hours of operation. You know, the drill bit itself is $12,000, right? So, you know, it's, you have to, and then fundamentally, you know, it's not like they're selling thousands of these either.
Exactly. Right? Probably not. Probably
they're
not.
not.
No.
They're not.
Yeah,
right?
this economy of scales topic is huge.
Absolutely.
In this area.
Look, it's the Savile Row of tailoring. It's, you know, the Hungarian shoemaker. It's the Japanese shoemaker. It's Bugatti Chiron. You know, I mean, you know, how many Bugatti Chirons are there? A couple hundred? That's it.
I don't know. Honestly.
Exactly. So anyway, so to me, those conversations, they're fun. You know, I enjoy talking about it. But to me, it's almost like it's noise, right? It's like, you know, it's like, who cares, right? You know what I want to do? Here's what I want to do. I want to take, you know, simplified,
right.
on red vinyl, right? And I want to put this down on the turntable, and I want to play it and listen to it. That is what I want with these speakers, right?
Yeah.
And I listen to them every day, right?
Right.
And again, it's what I said before. You have to have a passion for music.
Danny, I don't think that anybody who has this kind of speakers, I'm very serious now, nobody has to justify why he has them, other than because I like them, I like the sound, because this is an outstanding thing they do, and I only get this from them, and that's why this is worth to me. But tell us, if possible. I know talking about sound of speakers is like dancing your name. What makes them special? Is there a point where you can say, okay, this is another league, and this justifies the $200,000 more than, for example, the Einstein speakers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And this is, again, to your point, it's so difficult to put it into words or video or whatever your medium is, to really describe what you can get out of this. I'll let me give you a couple of nuggets, right? The other day I was playing the soundtrack, which we're going to be doing a video, can't wait. The soundtrack of the movie Inception.
Mm-hmm.
It's Christopher Nolan film, obviously, came out, I don't know, 10 years ago. And Hans Zimmer.
Already that long? Oh my God. Really?
I know, isn't it crazy? Time flies. Time flies. And Hans Zimmer, bombastic Hans Zimmer with his, Paukenschläge and,
fellow German. A fellow German.
Yes, that's right. That's right. He is, isn't he? He wrote the soundtrack, and there's bass, there's rumble, there is symphonic orchestration, there is what I always call, when I write these reviews, it's like the back in the 60s, panorama vision, now live in panorama vision, 70 millimeter cinemascope film, stereophonic sound, right? And you're like, whoa, this is so cool, And so that, to me, okay, so I play that soundtrack, and I mean, let me tell you, Michael, you'll never get that kind of involvement, that kind of engulfing sound, three-dimensional, layer upon layer upon layer, bass from the deepest note that punches you, right? I mean, we're talking about like literal gut punches, right? Up through the mid-range, where you hear cymbals, you hear glockenspiel, and all the various parts that most of them probably electronic, or some of them anyway. And then you go into the higher frequencies, and you sit there completely transfixed as to what you're hearing, because your brain fools you into really thinking that you are in that recording space, the cathedral, the studio, wherever they recorded it. You feel like you're in there. You feel like you're part of it. You feel like Hans Zimmer is conducting this for you right now as you're playing it.
I think you probably on purpose used very interesting terms, because that's what also was my impression when I listened to this huge giants of speakers. Not this one, other ones, but still huge. And of course, and that's not a bad thing. It happens with every hi-fi equipment. It fools you, psychoacoustic.
Yes.
You have this huge speakers, and what they all have, all this huge giants, it's bombastic. It's bombastic. My personal problem, John Coltrane has never been a real giant. He was a saxophone giant, but he wasn't a 12-meter giant.
Of course.
And that's where you have to look. What do I want? You of course you are not Danny if you haven't choose the perfect example when you take the soundtrack from Hans Zimmer, which of course is bombastic by itself. But when it comes, let's say, for a Holy Cold Temptation, I don't know.
When all this COVID stuff is over, we'll make something. No, okay. It scales, right? I use the soundtrack as an example because, again, to me, when I talk to people about this, naturally, what do people tend to want to hear first, right? you know, you asked it, you said it just a moment ago perfectly, right? Oh man, they must play loud, right?
Made
so,
in
yeah,
Japan, deep
naturally,
purple.
that's right. That's right. And so, but let me tell you this. They scale beautifully.
Okay.
You play Coltrane. Coltrane doesn't sound like Hans Zimmer.
Okay.
You know,
what a relief.
yeah, right. He's not playing a 12-foot saxophone.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It scales proportionally, accurately to the recording.
Okay.
If I'm listening to Dean Martin, Dream with Dean, Dean Martin is not a 20-foot giant.
Very important.
He's, you know, 6 foot tall and inside your room. You mentioned Holly Cole. I just played that album too the other day. She's not a 20-foot mega woman, right?
Still not.
Right. She's, you know, 5'4", right? I don't know how tall she is, but you know, it scales. I know exactly where you're going, and I can assure you that they scale with the recording. They scale with the size of the performer and the size of the instrument, right? Starker, the 6-disc analog productions, you know, 3-track original master, you know, remix.
I'm 100% sure
ago.
that these speakers have enough power and enough bass to give his cello.
Man, yes. Oh, it is. You feel the wooft.
But the speakers, excuse me, the bass is not active. It's all passive, right?
Yes, all passive.
Okay.
Correct. All passive. Yes. And
you can't choose. You can't say, "Give me an active bass." You can't say that.
No.
Okay.
No, it's a completely passive speaker. Like I said, single terminal, so you can't even bi-amp them or bi-wire them or you know any of those you know further complications, so to speak.
So you can't take your Mark Levinson amplifiers for the bass and the rest with the Einstein. You can't do that. Okay.
No, I can't. Now going back to the amplifier because we kind of went off on a tangent here. You know, look, so obviously the OTLs are magical up to a point. Contrary to what you may think, if I put in the Einstein hybrid, the power amp, which is what 120 watts, I believe, into 8 ohms or something like that. They're a nominal 4 ohm load. It plays phenomenal. It plays louder than you could listen to at any length of time. And so, you know,
so you don't use the Mark Levinson anymore.
No, you really don't.
What a relief.
Yeah, they're 92 dB efficient. And again, I mean, you know, yes, they have a massive dip in the low bass region. They drop down to about an ohm or so. And so, yeah, definitely you need an amp that is well designed that can handle a 1 ohm load, right? So, you know, you're not going to be able to put in, you know, 10 watt, you know, 300B tube amp on these. They're, you know, the amp's going to, you know, choke to death, burn up in a fire. And, you know, you're not going to be happy with that, right? So you need some level of power, but you don't need 1,000 watts. You don't need 500 watts. Case in point, you know, this is, you know, and so speaking of the Macintosh amps, you know, Macintosh is one of those subjects, you know, some people in high-end audio don't think it's high-end audio. Other people think it's super high-end audio. You know, again, to me, I don't look at it that way.
Danny, be honest. The answer is simple.
Yes.
And the answer is
meters.
What?
It's the blue meters.
They are beautiful, gorgeous.
They are.
But of course, it's not high end. There's no. Yeah, of course not. They put a
Yeah.
transformer behind the transmitter. Any questions?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So
I get
there
it.
is your answer. There is your answer.
I get it. I get it. They're a very musical amplifier, which is why I have them. They're a very musical amplifier. And, you know, there's obviously scales of musicality, right? Are they as musical as the Einstein OTLs? No, they're not, right? But, and by the way, because they have the meters on them, believe it or not, most of my listening is done in the 6 to 60 watt power window.
Mhm.
When I look at the meters, and they're calibrated, so you know they're fairly accurate. I mean, I don't know in the level of accuracy. I'm sure if you put a scope on it or so, they're probably off a little bit. But for all intents and purposes, if it says 6 watts, it's playing about 6 watts, right? Most of my listening is between 6 and 60 watts, right? That's the gap that I find. And then, yeah, of course, when you want to go crazy and you want to crank it, to 600 watt plus peaks, let me tell you, don't do it for more than a couple of minutes. You don't want to damage your hearing.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
these speakers will play, again, to your original point, they will play extremely loud, to the point where, you're like, oh my God, it's like the Mixel guy, right? It's literally,
at some point,
your
it's
hair's
not
flowing
fun
back.
anymore.
It's not. Correct.
How loud will
that
you
to
hear
me-
Jan Stärker? I mean,
That's right. That to me is like you're at the Indian restaurant and the guy goes, your chicken tikka, how spicy do you want it on a scale of 1 to 10? And you're like 12. Right?
You're the
You're like,
hero.
okay,
You're the
dude.
hero of the evening.
Yeah, that's right. You're the hero of the evening, and you're like, hey, where'd the chicken go? Right? All I'm tasting is.
Oh, where did our
fire
hero
pepper.
go? He's in the hospital.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, the amplifier stuff, and I've had all kinds of amplifiers. Again, keep in mind, I am a reviewer, so I get stuff sent all the time. I've had Boulder amplifiers here. I've had, I can't think of it right now, but tons of stuff that comes in and out. And you kind of, at the end of the day, you pick what you feel a connection with, right? And I'm sure there's tons of amplifiers that will sound great on these speakers that I haven't heard yet, right?
Are those speakers forgiving or are they difficult?
No, they are, crap in is crap out.
Okay.
They are very revealing. And, any change that you make to your system, you hear it instantly. Case in point, we were talking last time about the DS Audio optical cartridge. Man, you hear stuff immediately,
Okay.
right? They're very revealing. They are, to your point earlier, they need space. You're not going to set these up in a studio, right? Funny point, when we were looking for homes about 6 years ago, we probably looked at half dozen homes, and I would, walk in and the realtor was a friend of mine, and this is nice. This is nice. This is nice. Yeah. Okay. Next. And we get to this house and he opens the front door and the front door goes through the foyer and into the living room. And in US specs, so this is 35 feet by 16 feet, right? And I saw it, I walked in and I looked at him and I didn't see anything else.
Because the room was good.
Yes. And I said, this is the house. He goes, dude, you haven't I haven't even shown you the rest of it. The bathrooms, the bedroom.
I will never be there. I will never be there.
I don't care. Exactly. I don't care. He's like, wow, what, I'm like, dude, the speakers are going to go right here. And I remember walking him in and pointing him and, this is where the speakers, he goes, the speakers, what are you talking about?
Speakers?
And I'm like, the hi-fi speakers, man, don't you get it? Don't you get it? And, maybe 6 months after we moved in, of course, we bought the house. And then 6 months after we moved in, he came over for a visit. And, I didn't have these. I had my journey with Wilson started with the original Alexia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had the Alexias here. And he was like, whoa, I've never seen anyone buy a house because they can set up the speakers. So this is how crazy I am about hi-fi, right?
And I think you will see in the comments, I think 89% of our viewers will understand you completely.
I think so. I hope so, right? No, look, it's funny. I was just on the phone with someone the other day, and I said, we live in a house of music, right? There's music everywhere here. I mean, I've got my office set up. We've got bedrooms set up. It's a house of music because, man, I just love music. I really, really love music. It's at the end of the day,
it's all about
all of this is all about music. And again, I think high-end audio has done a very poor job over the last 30 years of marketing itself and branding itself.
I know what you're getting at, yeah.
To create that, right? Because, we talked about films, right? Christopher Nolan and stuff, right? And not to get off on a tangent, but, you watch one of his movies and you're like, man, I want the biggest possible screen that I can get, right? If I could watch it in a theater with a 200-foot screen in IMAX, I would watch it, right?
Yeah.
It's a big sound system.
Exactly. And they got the backup with the movies. The high-end industry lost the backup.
Yes.
You tell me one argument. If you listen to MP3 to buy a high-end audio system, there is no argument to do that. And so with the resurgence and with the coming back of vinyl, that will probably help a lot.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm starting to see that too, right? I mean, it's more and more people are buying vinyl, obviously. And I think more and more people are questioning, okay, I got my, little thing for Christmas. Somebody gave it for my birthday. I inherited it from, Uncle Freddie, whatever.
But Danny, excuse me, this is a great topic. And I think this even may be a topic for a whole video. We are over our time limit because we won't take that too long. People don't like that, and I get that.
Yes, I know.
I think we have seen an unbelievable setup. Danny, thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you.
I hope you don't get too much heat how someone can buy the speakers. I don't think so. I hope not. And like always, you does again this great job in the comment section. Talk to our viewers. I will
love that.
My share too.
I love that.
And once more, Danny, I know this is not, how can I put it? Es ist nicht selbstverständlich. Can you translate that?
It's not, I know what you're saying.
Okay, so if not.
Yeah, anyway.
That you did that for us. Thank you very, very much, Danny, for sharing your beautiful equipment.
A big pleasure. I love your channel. I love the folks watching your
You
channel.
are part of
I
that
love the
channel
comments.
now, Danny. It's our 4th collaboration, and there will be more. The next one we'll do is about soundtracks. I owe it to you.
Yes.
Okay, Danny. Thank you
Can't wait.
very, very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. See you guys. Ciao.